George V was born on June 3, 1865, at Marlborough House in London, England. He was the second son of King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra. As a member of the royal family, George V grew up in a privileged and highly regarded environment, with access to the best education, healthcare, and opportunities available at the time. George V was christened Prince George Frederick Ernest Albert and was known as Georgie to his family. He was the second in line to the throne after his older brother Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence. However, after Albert Victor's sudden death in 1892, George became the heir apparent. George served in the Royal Navy from 1877 to 1892. He commanded torpedo boats 79, HMS Thrush and HMS Melampus, and made many tours around the British Empire and elsewhere. In 1893, George V married Princess Victoria Mary of Teck, who became known as Queen Mary after his accession to the throne in 1910. Mary was the fiancée of Albert Victor, George's brother, but Albert Victor died of pneumonia in 1892. Queen Victoria still regarded Mary as a suitable match for her grandson, and as the couple grew close during shared mourning they fell in love and got married. The couple had 6 children together: Edward, Albert, Mary, Henry, George, and John. Queen Mary was known for her love of jewelry and fashion, and she became a major influence on British style during the early 20th century. George V became king on May 6, 1910, after the death of his father, King Edward VII. His coronation was held on June 22, 1911, at Westminster Abbey in London. His reign saw the outbreak of World War I in 1914, and he worked to maintain national morale and support for the war effort. He made several visits to the front lines, one in which he was seriously injured in a fall from his horse, which had an effect on his health for the rest of his life. He also visited hospitals to show his support for the troops and their families. Before the outbreak of war, George made several attempts to negotiate with his cousin Kaiser Wilhelm, in a last-ditch effort to avoid war, but to no avail. In 1917, he changed the name of the royal family from the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha to the House of Windsor to distance the monarchy from its German roots during a time of anti-German sentiment. This move was widely supported by the British public and helped to solidify the royal family's connection to the country. After the war, with the British Empire intact, unlike Russia, Germany, Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, which all disintegrated at this time, it was the up-and-coming America who threatened Britain's global superiority. George V played a key role in the creation of the Irish Free State in 1922, which resulted in the partition of Ireland. This move was controversial, and it led to decades of conflict between the two parts of the country. In 1924, the first Labour government was elected under Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald. This was a historic moment and saw the emergence of socialism in Britain for the first time. He made several overseas trips during his reign, including visits to Canada, South Africa and India. These trips helped to strengthen ties between Britain and its Commonwealth countries and were seen as a way to promote British influence around the world. George V was an avid stamp collector and helped to develop the Royal Philatelic Collection, which is now one of the most extensive collections in the world. He was also a keen sailor and enjoyed hunting and fishing. George V was the first monarch to deliver a Christmas Day radio broadcast, which became an annual tradition. His broadcasts were popular with the British public and helped to increase his popularity and influence. George V's reign saw significant social and economic changes in Britain, including the growth of the Labour Party and the rise of trade unionism. These changes helped to transform British society and gave workers more rights and protections. In 1926, there was a general strike in Britain, which lasted for 9 days and saw over 1 million workers walk out in protest against poor working conditions and low pay. George V played a key role in resolving the strike and ensuring that it did not escalate into a full-blown crisis. George V was a traditionalist and believed strongly in the importance of the monarchy and its role in British society. He worked hard to maintain the dignity and prestige of the crown, even during difficult times. He was known for his kindness and compassion, and he was deeply concerned about the welfare of his subjects. He visited hospitals, schools, and other institutions throughout his reign and was always interested in the lives of ordinary people. George V was a patron of the arts and sciences and was a keen collector of paintings, books, and other cultural artifacts. He supported the development of the British Museum and the National Gallery, and he was a strong advocate for the preservation of historic buildings and landmarks. In 1935, George V celebrated his Silver Jubilee, marking 25 years on the throne. The event was celebrated throughout the British Empire, with parades, fireworks, and other festivities. It was a time of great national pride and unity, and it helped to reinforce the importance of the monarchy in British life. George V died on January 20, 1936, aged 70, at Sandringham House in Norfolk, England. His health had declined over the years mainly due to smoking-related issues. He was succeeded by his eldest son, Edward VIII, who abdicated the throne later that year. George V's legacy as a dedicated and compassionate monarch continues to be remembered and celebrated by the British people.